Independence Blue Cross Bull Session, presented by SEPTA, a weekly recap of your 2024 Phillies, broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's. Tonight's show is brought to you by Team Toyota, BCWSA, The Capitol Grill, Independence Blue Cross, and SEPTA. Now, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Gary Sarge Matthews.
Hey, Gary Matthews is.
Wait till I tell Gary.
Since the last I saw him. Hey, we have Tommy No-Hit Greene tonight. There's not a whole lot of people, ladies and gentlemen, that have thrown a no-hitter in Major League Baseball. We have one here tonight from the Philadelphia Phillies, number 49, Tommy Greene.
Thank you very much, Danny boy.
And I got to tell you some other things about Tommy. And
here we go.
I want to tell you about our guest. And every week we're at the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session, presented by SEPTA, is at various Chickies and Pete's. Today we're glad to be with you, good people, in Marlton. We're near where Route 70 and 73 cross. In fact, my wife Kathy is here with our daughter Courtney and our grandchildren. Rio, are you out there, grandson?
Yeah. I see his top of his head.
Rio, I can't see you. And our 7-week-old granddaughter Aria is here.
This is a beautiful place.
Oh, it's awesome.
Pete Cherokee has done such a great job with this franchise, and by the way,
I'll tell you what, this is a beautiful place they got here. The way to set up here with us, where we're sitting at doing the radio show, it's outstanding. Beautiful place they got here, Chicken Pete's.
Thank you, Tommy. Now, about Tommy Greene, just a little bit of a background, so all of you nice diners that are here tonight and are aware. Tommy Greene pitched in the big leagues from 1989 through 1997, and 6 of those years with the Phillies, 1990 through 1995. Tommy's 2 best years as a starting pitcher were 1991, when he was 13-7, pitched 207 2/3 innings, and had a 3.38 earned run average. And when you get down there close to 3, you're pitching pretty darn well. He had 154 strikeouts in 91, and in May 23rd of that year, number 49, Tommy Greene, up at Olympic Stadium in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, pitched a no-hitter against the Expos.
We call that magic. We call that that stuff, the sleight of hand.
Tommy, here's that day he had 10 strikeouts and 7 walks.
How about that?
But nobody got a hit.
Yep.
And
just wild enough to keep them on their toes.
But Tommy,
Doug, he likes that one.
That.
I told you I had something new in your bio to share with our listeners. And by the way, this show is being video streamed on YouTube and on WBCB Radio's website, www.wbcb1490.com. But Tom, people should not have been so shocked when you threw the no-hitter on May 23rd of 1991 for the Phillies against the Expos. And because there were some impressive parts of your history that suggested that possibility.
Ready.
Such as...
See where you come with this.
You, Tommy Greene, threw 9 no-hitters in high school in Whiteville, North Carolina.
Oh, yeah. Back in the day.
I mean, I've heard of people who have thrown 1 or 2 no-hitters. 9 no-hitters?
Yeah, we played pretty good ball back down there, too, man. So, hey, I take pride in that.
You should, Tom.
We're not talking Little League here, are we?
No,
Tommy?
I didn't have one in the Little League. This is all high school stuff, yeah. And one nine-inning Legion ball.
Oh, really? That's terrific.
T. Green, as Harry Callis called him, ladies and gentlemen. Number 49, Phillies pitcher Tommy Greene.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
You're welcome, Tommy. You deserve it. And we've got a lot to talk about with the current Phils, but I also...
We do and we don't.
Yes.
Wait a little bit.
Our special guest tonight was a big league outfielder, pinch hitter from 1960 through 1968. He played 5 years with the Cardinals, 3 years with the Phillies, and 2 years for the Chicago Cubs. His first home run the first home run that Steve Carlton, Hall of Fame Phillies pitcher, ever gave up was to this man, our guest tonight, Doug Clemens.
Oh, I'm going to have to turn the screws on Lefty.
How about that?
I'm going to see him in Alumni Weekend. I'm going to turn the screws on him a little bit.
He proudly wore number 17 for the Phillies. And we have another number 17 who, like Doug, is one of our guests each and every year. Number 17, second baseman Terry Harmon.
How about that?
Here's two other guys that have worn Doug Clemens' number. Number 17, third baseman Scott Rowland.
How about, I didn't know that.
And also number 17, and he's off to a great start with the Milwaukee Brewers, first baseman Reese Hoskins.
How about that? I'm happy for him.
So am I.
He's going to hit. I think he's going to hit a ton in that place.
Ladies and
he
gentlemen,
came out of the gate really smoking.
No.
How about a round of applause for Tommy Greene's and my guest tonight on the Bull Session, former Phillies outfielder number 17, Doug Clemens.
Hey, all right out there.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And that's an art what he did. The pitch hit extraordinaire.
I will tell you.
That's an art, how to do that.
It was a difficult position to play, actually. Yes. But I appreciate Dan. I appreciate being with Tommy tonight, and thank you very much for the invite.
Oh, you're welcome, Doug. And, something I got to ask you first off, and I know Tommy is interested in Phillies history.
Yeah.
You know, when Doug Clemens played for the Phillies, they played all of their games at Connie Mack Stadium.
I never got to see that.
Connie Mack Stadium. I never played in the vet. Obviously, I was retired in 1968 after that last season.
Yeah.
So I know Tommy's got questions for you, Doug, but I want to start out with a couple, if you could be so kind. I want to ask you your impressions of Connie Mack Stadium, 21st Street and Lehigh Avenue in North Philadelphia. Your impressions of Dick Allen, whose son Richard is going to be our guest on the next Independence Blue Cross Bull Session.
Oh, good.
Next Monday afternoon, April the 15th. So I want to ask you about Dick Allen. You also played with Hall of Famer Stan Musial. Did you also play with Bob Gibson?
I did. We were all on the same team.
Hall of Fame Bob Gibson.
You got to elaborate on some of that. I want to hear some of that.
And wait to hear this, folks. He was traded from the Cardinals to the Cubs for Hall of Fame outfielder Lou Brock. How about that, Ellen and Jack? Isn't that something?
How could they give up me for Lou Brock? I often wondered about that.
So give us your impressions of...
Well, first of all, Dan, I would say Dick Allen was a great team player. He might have had a little issue with the management on occasion, but the players loved to play with Dick Allen. He was a gutty guy, one of the great hitters. Spent part of his
thunder, didn't he?
Oh, he could hit it, and he grew up playing in the minors in Little Rock, Arkansas, which could not have been a picnic for him.
Yeah.
No.
I played against him down there before I came to the big leagues, and that's a tough place to play.
And who were you playing for at that time?
I was with the Cardinal organization at that time in the minor leagues.
Which team?
That would have been the Atlanta Crackers, Class Triple A. We played, and Dick would have been with Little Rock in the American Association or either in the International League. But, yeah, and he was just in the major leagues. Everybody loved Dick. Everybody says he had these run-ins with Gene Mock and so forth. Well, we never saw it on the field. We really enjoyed his company, and he just loved to play. He wore those long-sleeve wool shirts when it was about
I can't fathom that back in the day, man.
1,000 degrees out, and he was a wonderful player, wonderful friend, and I'm sorry we lost him as we did to cancer a couple of years ago.
That's sad, what size bat did he swing? He used to swing a war club, didn't he?
His bat was 36 inches long, 42 ounces.
Oh my God!
42. It's kind of reminiscent of the Babe Ruth era, but also on our team.
It's like that pole right there we're looking at.
That's right. Also on our team was Johnny Callison, and Johnny used a big bat too. Johnny was only about 5'9" and one of the best outfielders in the National League, and he swung a big bat. He swung something around 35 inches and 40 ounces.
Led the NL in assists for
21 assists in 1 year.
You played against the Toy Cannon, didn't you?
I did, sure.
Yeah, he swung a big bat too.
I
knew Jimmy.
Jimmy
with Houston's organization when I went over there, and used to talk hitting with him, and man,
I'll never forget
those guys with their forearms. You
I'll
can
never
see
forget
even meeting Dick the years through Alumni Weekend and stuff, and having the conversations I did with him, just shaking hands with the men that played during that area. You could tell they swung like sledgehammers.
Well, you know what happened to Jimmy Wynn one year? Allen hit a ball into right center in Philadelphia in Connie Mack Stadium. To the left of the scoreboard, as you look at it from the batter's box to the left of the scoreboard, Wynn went running all the way back, and he ran into the wall back there, and Dick got an inside the park home run. That was kind of a tragic thing because Jimmy Wynn got hurt on that particular play.
Oh, man.
Doug,
I learned a lot from Jimmy.
Did you ever see Dick Allen launch one of those mammoth home runs above the Coke sign?
That's
on
what
the
I hear
roof
about.
Of the left field bleachers?
Sure. I played there 3 years with the Phillies during his great era.
How far do you think that is?
Oh, that had to be 450, 480. I mean, it's a shot. I mean, today some of those guys are hitting routine shots that are going through. At least they're announcing 430, 440. The way they're flying out of the stadium now in Philadelphia. I mean, it seems like anything less than 400 is a kind of a piker type shot.
Yeah.
That's for a home run.
Tommy,
I'd assume hit it in the park. I want my guys who I give them up to, I want them to hit it in the parking lot. I don't want no wall scrapers like barely getting over type thing. I want them to hit it,
Jump on it.
having seen so many games at Connie Mack Stadium with my brother as a kid, I'll never forget the distance to center field, 447.
It's a monster.
447 feet to center field.
Yeah, huge.
I was like, how far was Detroit back in the day? I mean, the old part.
That was a junior circuit. I don't remember
that.
Yeah,
I remember. It was like something stupid.
Yeah, long.
Yeah, sure.
And,
sure.
At Chicago's Comiskey Park, our old friend Greg Luzinski hit a couple in 1983. Hit 3 shots on the top of the left field roof.
That don't shock me with him either.
The only other people that did that are like Jimmy Fox, like legendary sluggers. Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and Ted Williams hit 3 balls onto the right field roof. I mean, how about that company?
That's great company. I remember when Greg Luzinski was still in high school, and we, the Philadelphia Phillies, were playing against the Chicago Cubs in Chicago, and they brought Greg Luzinski in to take batting practice and look at him and so forth. He had shots out of Chicago, just absolute shots.
We were a monster.
We as players were very impressed, and we thought, this guy is going to take somebody's job someday pretty quickly.
He was. This bull now, just the way he's built, he was a monster. I mean, Physically, he was. I mean, the thighs he had on him. He was a football legend around here, wasn't he? I mean, he was a great football player. The way he was built, I mean, it was in his form, just the way he was. It was not but power. He sweated it.
Strong guy.
Tommy and Doug, he could have signed at any top 10 NCAA football program. In fact, Notre Dame held out a scholarship for him to the end. A lot of the other schools kind of backed off because they thought he was going to sign a professional baseball contract. And the Phillies.
What position did he play? You know.
I want to say first base.
No, football-wise.
Fullback and linebacker. Yeah.
That don't shock me with him.
Yeah.
You know, you just mentioned about he was offered a full scholarship to Notre Dame. Another friend of mine from the Cardinals, back in the era, Tim McCarver.
Yes.
Tim McCarver was a great football player at Christian Brothers Academy in Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
And he had a full ride offered to him to play football at Notre Dame, of all places.
Okay.
And but he signed for I think $75,000. $75,000 in our day, Tommy, was a big amount of money.
Huge.
Big amount of money. The minimum salary was $7,000 when I was playing.
Oh my God!
I mean, the maximum average, the average salary was $28,000. $28,000. I mean, today what is the?
When I signed, it was $62,500.
$62,500.
Okay, you know who my first boss was, right? When I come up with Atlanta Braves, he was the head of the minor leagues. Hank Aaron.
Hank Aaron.
He was the head, so he was in charge. You had to talk to Hank about money.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
You see the way he says that, right? Oh, really? So you didn't make any?
Well,
pretty much, because he didn't make any.
In Philadelphia, I had to talk to John Quinn, and back in the day, again before the elimination of the reserve clause in 1972, roughly, you had to play for the same team every year, whether you like it or not, and you had very little negotiating power. We didn't have any agents or anything because the contract said you will play for the same team every year, regardless, unless they trade you or cut you. And today it's open season. Everywhere.
Well, I mean that goes you what we did as a union. We fought, and y'all guys started back in the day. Started that process slowly, but
we call it an association.
Yeah,
we don't. The players don't. Take a pay negotiated by a union.
Yeah,
that's the only thing.
Yeah.
Today they have agency.
Yeah.
But obviously it's a union.
Yeah.
Tommy and Doug, it's time for our first commercial break on this week's edition of the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session presented by SEPTA. Tonight's show is heard on 1490 WBCB, 1490 AM, and 107.3 FM. This show is also video streamed at WBCBsports.com or our YouTube page, WBCB Sports. Back with the second segment of tonight's Bull Session after this.
Hey, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. Dive into our delectable seasonal seafood specials, including our Chickies and Pete's Sticky Lobster Tacos, succulent Brazilian tail meat in a spicy sauce, or try our Chickie and Pete's Shrimp Po' Boy, our signature fried shrimp, lettuce, roasted tomato, and a cherry pepper sauce, served on a fresh baguette. Plus, don't forget our Chickie and Pete's buy one, get one sweet and tasty snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday. Only at Chickies and Pete's.
Hi, Paul Muller from Team Toyota of Langhorne. If you've been waiting to buy your next pre-owned vehicle due to surging used car prices, then we have some great news for you. With over 45 used cars under $20,000, we have something for every budget. Plus, with our MVP pricing guarantee, warranty forever, and free maintenance for 1 year, you can rest assured that you're getting a reliable used car at a great price. Visit us in Langhorne on Route 1 or shop online at teamlanghorne.com.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Learn more about your coverage options at IBX.com.
SEPTA offers a variety of career opportunities. Our core business is transit, and with 5 modes of service, we rely on and need operators, engineers, and conductors. But it takes a host of other specialties, including mechanics, electricians, plumbers, masons, painters, carpenters, welders, and more to keep the system moving. As an employee, you will earn competitive compensation and great benefits, including medical, dental, prescription, and a pension. Visit jobs.septa.org to apply today. That's jobs.septa.org.
We now return to the Bull Session live from Chickies and Pete's in Marlton, New Jersey with Dan Baker and former Philly Tommy Greene.
Welcome back, everybody, to Chickies and Pete's in Marlton at the intersection of Route 73 and Route 70, a beautiful establishment. It's always nice to come here. And we're talking Phillies baseball on the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session presented by SEPTA on WVCB 1490 AM and 107.3 FM. With no-hit Tommy Greene, I'm Dan Baker, and our special guest tonight is former Phillies outfielder Doug Clemens. Doug, one of the things that we mentioned about you at the outset of the show was your connection to Hall of Famers. The first home run that Hall of Fame left-handed pitcher Steve Carlton gave up was to you. You were traded. You were traded for Lou Brock, and you played with two of the greatest Cardinals of all time, Stan Musial and Bob Gibson. I wanted to ask you to talk about Stan and Bob.
Stan retired in, I think, 1963, and I was with the Phillies when he retired. He was facing Jim Maloney, who was a great pitcher for Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah.
And Stan struck out the first time up. And then he hit 2 ropes for singles, and beyond that, they took him out. And at the ceremony before the game, the team gave Stan a diamond ring in the shape of a 6 because he wore number 6 for all those years. He was a great hitter. I think a lifetime hitter of 331.
Wow.
He had over 400 home runs, 450 home runs, whatever. And he just could play. He was really a dynamic player, one of the best I've ever seen. And
Bob Gibson?
Bob Gibson. Well, thank God I was a left-hand hitter, because going from the Cardinals, Bob was a character. He was really a character. He was a fierce competitor. But going
that might be the understatement.
Yes, yes. Going from the Cardinals to the Cubs, he was difficult to hit. But thank God I was hitting from the left side of the plate, because it made it a little bit easier for me. My first time I faced him, opening day in Chicago, I was a center fielder for the Chicago Cubs, and I hit a shot a foot from going out of the fence in Wrigley Field, which would have been a neat thing to actually get a home run there against Gibson. But he watched me all the way around the base. I could tell. I could feel it. He was watching.
He stared a hole through you.
Because we were teammates for 3 years. And now I'm standing on second base, and I finally look up, and there he's staring me down. Just absolutely staring me down.
Okay, what happened the next time you come up to the bat? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Well, he didn't knock me down, thank God. He did not knock me down.
I thought that might be the case.
Yeah, no, he didn't knock me down. Unfortunately, we lost that game, but it was fun. The first at-bat that I had against him.
I got a little story. I don't know how true it is. I mean, but the man told me himself. We talked about Jimmy Wynn a while ago, to Torrey Cannon. He said the first time one of the first times he went into St. Louis, I think, and he goes up to the home plate and he gets he's digging his right foot in and making his hole and stuff like that. And he felt somebody looking at it. He looks back and the catcher's looking at him, staring up at him, right? And the catcher looks up and says, "What are you doing, digging your grave?" And he looks out and he looked out on the mound. Who's on the mound? Gibson. What happened? And Jimmy Wynn told me what he did. He said, "I stepped back, covered my hole up, tamped it down, got in. Where was the first pitch? He was on his back. Yeah. He flipped him." That right there is a pretty good story to me. I mean, he said that's the way Gibby was. That's just.
Well, there's another story that I like to tell, and I think everybody's heard it. But Tim McCarver was the catcher for the Cardinals. Gibson's on the mound, and he was giving up a hit or a walk or whatever. McCarver came out to the mound, kind of shrugged his shoulders down, and he looks up at Gibson, and Gibson says, "What the hell do you want out here? I know more about this position than you ever know in your whole life." He said, "Get back behind the plate."
Classic. Yeah. Get off my mound.
Oh, God. That's funny.
There is a similar story about Larry Boa approaching the mound when Steve Carlton was on it, and Lefty told him to get right back where you belong.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. Hey,
now you're putting it very kindly.
Tommy Greene and Doug Clemens, our producer, and also another terrific on-air talent at WBCB, Chris Ermer, was intrigued by some of the discussion in the first portion of tonight's Independence Blue Cross Bull session. And Chris, I know you were looking up some statistics about long home runs.
Able to do a little research about the Comiskey roof shots that you guys were talking about. Talk about some of the all-time greats. Can you tell me the first guy who hit one on the roof?
Comiskey?
Yep.
Wow.
Jimmy Fox.
Even before him, Babe Ruth did it back in 1927, and Lou Gehrig put one up there in 1929. Wasn't until 51 that anybody on the White Sox hit one on the roof.
Isn't that something?
But you look at the guys who did it. Really, I was trying to see if Mickey Mantle did it, because this came up the other day, and I think I mentioned that Mickey put one on the roof, and he did in 55. Yeah. But these are amazing. Jimmy Fox did it a couple of times.
Who else is on there, Chris?
Hank Greenberg is on the list.
Yeah, Hall of Famer.
These are all the visiting guys. Ted Williams, like I said, Mickey Mantle. You got Bill Skowron.
Bill Skowron.
Moose.
His nickname was Moose.
First baseman.
Little Elston Howard.
Elston Howard.
I wouldn't have thought Elston.
Back in 61.
How about
Boog
that?
Powell. Boog is on the list.
Yeah,
Boog
he's
Powell.
a big man.
Did it in 66. Let's see, you got Don Mincher. Harmon Killebrew, one of the all-time great names.
The killer.
Sal Bando. Rupert Jones. Now, Rupert Jones, Kurt Gibson, George Bell, Brian Downing, Jose Canseco, Rob Deere, and Larry Sheets all did it, but it was when the home plate was moved about 8 feet closer to the roof. So they got little asterisks on the list.
I've always heard about moving.
Who was splitting hairs there?
Always heard about moving the fences in closer, but never heard about moving the plate out to the
plate
fences.
got moved up about 8 feet.
How about that?
Hey, Chris, thanks a lot. That's a terrific addition.
He does that pretty well. He comes up with some good stats and good questions and stuff like that.
He does. He's a talent.
Well, you were saying Greg Luzinski did it, right? Yeah. 3 times in 83.
Yeah.
Also did it once in 84.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that Dick Allen played for the White Sox, but he did it in 73.
Dick was the American League MVP in 1972.
He should definitely be in the Hall of Fame, Dan.
Well, Doug and Tommy and Chris.
I wish I had that. The only thing I wish I could have saw him play.
Yes, he was great.
Our next bull session is next Monday afternoon at Chickies and Pete's in South Philadelphia, and our guests are going to be Dick Allen's son, Richard Allen Jr., and Rob Holliday, who has put together this great program at Citizens Bank Park called Pioneers in Pinstripes. It's about all of the African American baseball players who performed in a Phillies uniform. Mm-hmm. And the Phillies, were the last team in the National League to integrate. So we were a little slow in that regard.
Right.
Yeah.
But we've had some great players over the years, and their stories going to be told in pictures. And next week on our show, it's going to be told in part by Rob Holliday, who put it together at the request of John Middleton, Tom.
Okay.
And Richard Allen Jr. himself. I'm really looking forward to that.
Terrific.
Now, Tom, talking about Hall of Famers, and something I want to get into before I forget.
Yeah.
I had it as part of your introduction and didn't mention the important work that you have done for the Darren Dalton Foundation.
Yes.
So I want to get to that. But while we were talking about Hall of Famers, and those with whom Doug Clemens was associated, Tom, when it comes to Hall of Famers that you have played with and against,
wow,
who comes to mind?
I mean, good question. Obviously, I come up through the Braves organization. I got a chance to pitch with Glavine and Smoltz, and never pitched with Maddox. He was after. He didn't go to the Braves until '93, but pitched with those guys a little bit when we were young. We were young coming up, and saw where they started, how they started. And they were not too much different. I mean, the rest of them, they had their scuffles and struggles, and then they figured it out, a little bit, and what made them tick. And and some of the, I think about some of the guys that are Hall of Famers. I've never really been asked that question, and I think about the teams that I played on with Atlanta. Those the pitchers are Hall of Famers. I'm trying to think any of the guys I played with. During that time,
I'll give
players.
you one that you played against, but he was with Atlanta. Fred McGriff.
Oh, Crime Dog,
in '93.
I never played with him.
You helped lead the Phillies to the World Series.
And you talk about one of the nicest men on the planet. Great guy. And he probably hit one of those shots that could have got up on the roof, Chris, against me in the playoffs in the vet. John Cook said he killed a family of 4 up there in the right field, up there where Scarjo hit it. So that's all right. If you give them up, give them up.
Sure, sure.
Tommy, we were also talking about long home runs.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not necessarily asking you to recount the longest home runs you've given up.
That was one. That was one. That was it right there.
But how about some of the others that you've seen, either from teammates on the Phillies or opponents that you've seen launch the ball?
I've seen some bombs. I've given up by probably the 2 furthest. I can remember seeing. I gave them up. One to McGriff. Yeah. And one was a spring training game against he was noted for it. Detroit Tigers. He was either a swing or miss guy.
Cecil Field?
No, it wasn't Cecil. It was a right-hander, big boy. You remember the old Jack Russell Stadium? Remember seeing that stadium?
Sure.
Remember how high those light towers were?
Yes.
That one in the left, it was going up as it bypassed it.
Kind of like the natural, right?
It was one. If it hit it, it might have knocked it down. It was one of those type of things. But I was under the adage, if I give it up, I'm going to give it up. They should have hit him where I threw that ball. They should have hit him. And that's the way I looked at that. You don't want to give up home runs? Quit throwing it down the middle of the plate.
That's right.
So,
ladies and gentlemen, we're halfway through tonight's edition of the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session presented by SEPTA on WBCB 1490 AM and 107.3 FM. We'll be back with the second half of tonight's show in just a moment.
Pete from Chicky and Pete's, the official sports bar of your Philadelphia Eagles. Here's a winner, fall football, and Chickies and Pete's mouth-watering snow crab legs. For a limited time, buy one and get one free snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday. Enjoy the sweet, delicate flavor of snowy white crab meat dressed in our special blend of seasonings and spices. Pair it with an ice-cold draft beer or one of our signature cocktails. Buy one and get one free snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday for a limited time. Restrictions apply. Chickies and Pete's.
Hi, Paul Muller from Team Toyota of Langhorne. If you've been waiting to buy your next pre-owned vehicle due to surging used car prices, then we have some great news for you. With over 45 used cars under $20,000, we have something for every budget. Plus, with our MVP pricing guarantee, warranty forever, and free maintenance for 1 year, you can rest assured that you're getting a reliable used car at a great price. Visit us in Langhorne on Route 1 or shop online at teamlanghorne.com.
Millions of Americans are losing their medical assistance or Medicaid coverage. If this affects you, Independence Blue Cross can help. You may be eligible to enroll in a health plan for as little as $0 a month. With Independence Blue Cross, you get the largest provider network in the area, including most Keystone First doctors and hospitals. We also offer free 24/7 telemedicine, coverage for hospital stays and prescriptions. See if you qualify for $0 health insurance and enroll today. Call Independence Blue Cross at 1-844-464-2583 or visit ibx.com/staycovered.
I SEPTA Philly. I SEPTA Philly. I SEPTA Philly.
I take SEPTA so I never miss tip-off. I do not have time to deal with traffic.
I don't have a car. Do you know how expensive parking is?
I take the Broad Street line to all the games.
I ride the bus.
I ride the train and the subway.
I set my lineup when I ride.
I check Twitter, text my buddies.
I watch sports highlights or lowlights.
For real Philly fans, SEPTA is the hometown way to go. Ride with us at iseptaphilly.com.
We now return to the Bull Session live from Chickies and Pete's in Marlton, New Jersey with Dan Baker and former Philly Tommy Greene.
Welcome back, everybody, to Chickies and Pete's and the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Tonight we're at Chickies and Pete's on Route 73 in Marlton, New Jersey. And Tommy Greene, no-hit pitcher Tommy Greene, is my co-host tonight, and our special guest is former Phillies outfielder number 17, Doug Clemens. Well, guys, we've talked a lot of history, and now we're going to switch to the 2024 Philadelphia Phillies. And Tom, let's begin with you, and after you've had a chance to give us your assessment.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Tom, before we get into that, who, as you know, every show, ladies and gentlemen, our resident expert picks a Independence Blue Cross Phillies Live Fearless Player of the Week. So, number 49, Tommy Greene.
Well, thank you very much, Danny boy.
Who have you picked?
Well, I mean, it's to me, he's waking up in the way I looked at it the past 7 games, and I think as he goes, when he goes, we go a little bit, and I got to go with Bryce Harper for the sole fact he woke the fans up with that special game he had last week when he hit 3 home runs in the game, and he had a good week, and what I mean by that, I mean he had 28 ABs, 9 hits, 3 homers, 7 ribbies, 5 strikeouts, and he hit 321 for the week, I mean, which is good. Anytime you could have a batting average over 300, I mean, I think it's outstanding. You'll see him have weeks where he hits, 500, but, anytime, ask Doug, hitting a round baseball with a round bat, it's tough.
Pretty tough.
And then you start doing, we talked about it off air, you got a guy like this with the power, and when he's going good, and what makes him so tough, he nailed it right on the head. He hits the ball to left center like that, and he drives the ball out like that. He stays on balls. That's when he becomes real dangerous. He becomes hard to pitch to, and he causes other teams worlds of trouble.
So thanks to Tommy Greene, this week's Phillies Live Fearless Player of the Week, number 3, Bryce Harper. Start living fearless today by going to www.ibx.com. Now, Tom, let's segue right into the Phillies' performance. They played 9 games. We are 4-5. The Phils are at St. Louis tonight. And where are we, Tom? How do you assess the start after 9 games for the 2024 Phillies?
Not where we want to be, and where we had the capability of being. Hitting with runners in scoring position hadn't been real well. Sometimes there hadn't been a lot of runners on because they haven't hit. In general, I think they've we've been hovering right around 500, which is okay because we've wasted, I think, we hit before the show even started. We said something about this. We've wasted 2 pretty good starts by Zach Wheeler, our ace, and what's he got to stand for? He's got a .9 ERA and he's 0-1. I don't get it. I mean, it's some things that got to change a little bit. I mean, it's a grind. I mean, it's early in the season. But we're seeing some of the old habits still here, I think, with certain guys, So we got to start, just trucking down the road and make those start not degressing, going back the way we were, making those little, steps forward. It don't have to be huge, but you start going in the right direction. If we start, get a runner in from third with less than 2 outs, run less than striking out, and then get out of the inning, stuff like that. That drives. That can drive a manager nuts, and people. Baseball fans, and I know as a pitcher, I love it when I leave that runner on third base. But as a team, our team, we got to get it in. One run makes a difference. That run could cost you the ball game. So I think they got to be better at those type of things.
Doug Clemens, how do you assess the Phillies' first 9 games of 2024?
Well, counting what Tommy said about the starting pitching, I was really shocked when they took Wheeler out of the first game. We had a 2-0 lead, and all of a sudden he's out of the game after giving up 1 hit in the 6th inning. And he was great
like
in that game.
88 pitches.
Yeah, he was great in that game. But I look at the lineup. I looked at it today, and I'm thinking they've got 3 guys in the lineup. They've got Realmuto hitting 300, Harper hitting 290, and Schwarber hitting 250. And then from there on down, it's 233, 231, 222, 133. Castellanos, 133. $25 million, 133. I know it's early because he came on last year. Total home runs they have is 10 so far. They have 6 doubles, and they have 1 triple. And Castellanos doesn't have an extra base hit. I believe that's correct.
Yeah.
And Rojas is hitting. I weigh more than Rojas is hitting. He's hitting 045, and that's a shame. And I think there's a guy that I think the longer he stays here and plays, his confidence could, if he continues at this this kind of a level and he can't hit, he's got to go back to the minor leagues and prove himself back there. Great outfielder. Can't take that away from him. He got picked off the other day on the bases. That really hurt their club on that particular play. But I think
the little things.
That's right. I look at it as it's early in the season. They're 4-5. Last year they lost the first 4 games, as I recall, and they're 4-5 right now. They're in St. Louis.
They could be better. And they've squandered a couple. Really good starts.
They've got to pick it up. They really have to pick it up. Emotionally, they've got to get their act together. I think maybe sometimes they get too emotional. They've got to play the game. They're professionals. They're making all this money. They're professionals. Play the game, do it right, and so be it, whatever happens then.
Tommy Greene and Doug Clemens, you both referred to Zach Wheeler's performance.
Yeah.
Of course, his first performance was opening day. He was our opening day pitcher.
Yeah.
And as you said, Doug, 1 hit through 6 innings, but unfortunately, Tom, the bullpen imploded.
Well, I hit on it too. He threw 88 pitches, 89.
Yes.
They pull him. And some of the stuff I had where we're trying to, be careful with them.
Yeah.
I said, well, why weren't they ready to throw 100 pitches coming out of spring training? Because you look at the trend and the way it's going in the big leagues now, them trying to harness workloads and stuff and take care. What is it? I haven't done nothing but see injuries.
That's right.
We all have them. We all go through them. Some more than others, and God bless. But I know back in the when you played, Doug, and I know when I grew up watching guys play, and then when I played, I know I had at least 2, if not 3 games where I threw over 100 pitches come out in spring training. So when I had that start, I knew I could push it to 120. Or more. It all depends, and it all depends on the effort in the game, the way the games go. You have high stress innings. You throw more pitches in one inning. And that type of thing. You can. Want nothing. I used to throw 120 pitches in 6 innings because I got foul balls all the time.
Sure.
So,
I have an example.
Yeah.
A very good friend of mine is Rick Wise.
Oh.
Rick lives in the Portland, Oregon area.
He can swing the bat too.
And he threw a no-hitter, hit 2 home runs against the Cincinnati Reds. It'll never be repeated because nobody goes 9 innings these days, unless it would
and
be
the pitchers
Shohei.
Don't hit no more.
Unless it would be Shohei, right? The guy from L.A. now.
Yeah.
But a prime example, he had 27 complete games one year. Robin Roberts, 31 complete. Bobby Shantz, 27
How about
MVP.
Bobby?
It's incredible today that I don't know. They're babying these guys to an extent, and they're worried about everybody getting hurt too much. Let them play. Let them play the game. And now you've got to take a guy out after 5 innings or 100 pitches of 6 innings, and then you got the middle relief. Then you got the guy that's the 8th inning guy, and then you got the 9th inning guy.
You got a bunch. I mean, you got a couple guys that are old school guys here more so. That's the way. I mean, you're a little bit older than me, and I grew up watching your era play, and it just is. I don't understand it. I mean, because everything. I mean, well, I do understand the way the game has changed. Everything's max effort, high velocity. They want max spin. They want, the way I was taught, as a pitcher, how easily can you change the spin on the ball? Can you change it? And is it tight? I mean, but they're putting numbers, trying to top numbers all the time to try to get the best out of it. But to me, that type of effort and that type of velocity, you're opening yourself for injuries,
Sure.
And also what's it do? It kind of messes with your command a little bit too with some guys, more so than others, but I mean, that's the difference I see, in today's game. And I worry about it. I mean, I just don't like the thing. I don't like people saying, spring training to me is geared for the pitchers to get ready for the season. When that bell rings, they should be ready to pitch 9 innings.
And they're usually ahead of the hitters because they are ready. They're more ready than. But in my
they should be ready to pitch, physically to pitch 9 innings, just in case if they throw 10 pitches in 6 innings or 7, whatever it is.
Boy,
Sure.
you guys are great with your conversation on Phillies baseball. I've got to interrupt because we have our last commercial break.
Yeah.
When we come back in the 4th and final segment of tonight's Independence Blue Cross Bull Session, we want to talk about, Tommy Greene, your involvement with the Darren Dalton Foundation.
Yes.
And our producer, Chris Ermer, who had such a big impact in the second segment of tonight's show, has another question for you distinguished guests.
There we go.
We'll be right back after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Relax and enjoy a cocktail from our seasonal cocktail menu. Try one of our delicious, perfectly blended options like strawberry lemonade. How about a raspberry sangria, blend of Pinot Grigio, raspberry liqueur, and bubbly lemon lime soda? Or maybe a Hendrick's Gimlet or a Patron Tropical Mojito is more your style. Enjoy one of these or many others from our Chicky and Pete's sensational seasonal cocktail selection. Only at Chickies and Pete's.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
SEPTA offers a variety of career opportunities. Our core business is transit, and with 5 modes of service, we rely on and need operators, engineers, and conductors. But it takes a host of other specialties, including mechanics, electricians, plumbers, masons, painters, carpenters, welders, and more to keep the system moving. As an employee, you will earn competitive compensation and great benefits, including medical, dental, prescription, and a pension. Visit jobs.septa.org to apply today. That's jobs.septa.org.
We now return to the Bull Session live from Chickies and Pete's in Marlton, New Jersey with Dan Baker and former Philly Tommy Greene.
Welcome back, everybody. Glad to see you at Chickies and Pete's in Marlton. And thanks to all of our good friends at Chickies and Pete's for hosting the Bull Session again this year at the various wonderful locations throughout the Delaware Valley. Now, in this segment, we're going to talk with Tommy Greene about the Darren Dalton Foundation. Yes. Chris Ermer has another question, and Doug Clemens wants to add another Hall of Fame name or two to the distinguished group that we talked about in the first segment of tonight's show. Both of whom played with Doug at the Chicago Cubs.
Chicago Cubs, that's right. And perhaps of the time that I played in the major leagues consistently playing with a guy from Chicago, Billy Williams. Billy Williams was just a phenomenal hitter, left-hand hitter, and he'd stand up there and he killed the ball. He was a slightly built guy, but he hit great. He had a great power and great for an average, and he played the outfield very well. He was their right fielder. And Ernie Banks was the other guy on the team. Ernie Banks played shortstop for years and years. He was the consecutive MVP for 2 years as a shortstop. Then they switched him to first base, and he had a long, distinguished career in Chicago.
I think those MVP years were like 56 and 57 or something like that.
Could be, yes.
Yeah. Chris Ermer, I think you have a question for these.
Yeah. You guys were talking about the current Phillies and how modern-day ball players maybe get coddled a little bit. I thought one of the guys on the team got some special fan treatment last year, Trey Turner, extra encouragement from the fans, and yet he starts out this season, it feels a little bit like deja vu to me, a lot of the same stuff. And Doug, as an infielder, I'm really wondering what you see fundamentally. Sometimes he looks like he's going for backhands on balls that he could get in front of. As a fan, that stuff is driving me nuts.
Well, his fielding really surprises me. I thought he was a better fielder, better overall ball. I mean, he's a great athlete, let's face it.
Yeah.
And he is having trouble at shortstop fielding the balls right in front of him. I mean, he goes great to the left, he goes great to the right, and certainly stops a lot of balls. But the one right at him, he's having a lot of trouble with.
Kind of eats him up a little bit sometimes.
It does eat him up. It does eat him up. And I think he's swinging too many bad balls. My God.
I think sometimes things as an athlete and stuff, the gray matter in between the years, you start thinking about things a little bit. It's not a lot, but it makes a big difference. It affects you a little bit, that negative thought a little bit, And I guess some of the things when I was younger, they said, try not to think too much. John Vukovich told me after every pitcher's meeting, I had to pitch that day, and he knew I did. He said, forget everything we just said. High fastballs, harsh sliders, go get them, don't think. Watch their thing. Don't keep it simple, stupid. Kiss. It's that sometimes it's just you got to try to clear it out and let your natural talent come through. And the key to it is trying to find a way to do that. Is to get out of your own way sometimes.
Yes.
I think we're all guilty of it.
We are.
And we do. And it's finding that thing that's sort of like clear the mechanism. Kevin Costner said it For the Love of the Game. Clear the mechanism.
That was a great movie.
And it works that way a little bit too. You kind of don't hear all the crap going on. You play the game in your little world out there, but sometimes you hear that little voice, that little devil on the shoulder.
I can attest to that. I look back on my career. I can attest to these guys that are hitting under 200 or 250 or whatever. And the longer you continue at that level and you continue to struggle and struggle and struggle, it does get in your head, and you think,
it beats on
my
you.
God, what is going on here? I've got to hit for an average. I've got to drive in runs. I've got to make the money they're paying me. And Turner had a horrible start last year, the first half of the year. And they gave him a standing ovation after the All-Star game, and
gave him a little bit of love,
and that turned him around for whatever reason. That turned him around,
made him take a deep breath, and maybe that little bit it made him relax a touch that let things happen.
And he stopped swinging at bad balls.
Yeah, he
swings at balls that are this far outside, and he's got to control that swing.
You're talking about that, and you as a hitter, and you've seen some of the best pitchers of your era, and you're watching some of the best pitchers of our era here. As a pitcher, I look, and it's like I know a guy's not seeing the baseball because he's swinging an arm out. He's like, Castellanos sometimes, and all of them, they're like, they're not picking it up, they're not seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you explain to us as a hitter what goes on? Something like, I used to hit a little bit too, but. Is picking up the baseball, and how to pick it up a little bit, what you look for, because you're looking for change in spin to pick up off speed. We're all geared to hit the heater.
Yeah, very, very true. You have to be ready for the fastball. You have to be able to be ready for the breaky ball as well. But how do you do both?
Yeah.
How do you do that? Looking for a slider, whatever, pitches in and out on the ball, on the plate. It's a matter of concentration, but you just have to be prepared for the obvious. Here comes the ball. You got to be able to hit it.
Doug and Tommy, we have about 4 minutes left in tonight's show, and once again, great conversation by you two.
We can talk baseball all night, Doug.
Tom, you know, you and I have done I don't know how many of these shows together.
Yeah.
And I try to come up with something to personalize your intro.
Yeah.
Each time you're on.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't think you get enough credit for your impact on Phillies history. Your 1993 season was one of the best by a Phillies starting pitcher ever. 16-4. And percentage-wise, man, that's a fantastic.
Well, it is. But you know what I'm proud of that year? And somebody brought it to my attention, and it might have been one of my teammates, who said every time you throw your glove on a man, we tend to win. And what I was proud of, I think, out of the 30 starts I made, 31, I think we won 25 of them. Now, and did I pitch great in all of them? No, but I think I had an effect on games like that as a hitter, as a guy who moved a runner over a bunt. I had an effect on games like that.
Did Dutch catch all those games?
No, but Pratty caught some too, but Dutch caught like the majority of them. So it was, Dutch was obviously a dear friend of mine. I wouldn't probably be up in the Philly area if it wasn't for him. He introduced me to my wife again. My wife now. So I got to reacquainted again.
There was another pretty fair starting pitcher. Who has been mentioned for the Hall of Fame, Curt Schilling.
How about that?
Who also had 16 wins as a Phillies starting pitcher in 1993. Right now, I want to take a moment in the little remaining time to talk about the Darren Dalton Foundation, what it does, and Tommy, your role in it.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what the foundation, Darren created him and Amanda, along with Brett Datto, who is the head, I call him the head honcho, that runs the foundation. And what we're doing is the Darren Dalton Foundation. Darren wanted to provide a financial assistance to those suffering from primary malignant brain tumors by providing grants to the families struggling to meet their financial obligations due to the diagnosis. So, is what we ask people, is just fight with us to try to help people to get through the daily grind, a little bit of what's going on in their life. Because what Darren had, the glioblastoma, is a real nasty disease. It's not, cancer's nasty as it is, but this is a real nasty one. So what we try to do is try to help the families, with their could be paying their mortgage for the month. It could be paying electricity bills and stuff to keep the lights on and stuff like that, and try to help it. So, they have to apply for it and go online and to the DarrenDaltonFoundation.org, and they have to prove that they're in that type of need, that they're, daily, their monthly expenses outweigh their monthly, what they're earning, and that type of thing. And so they're able to do that type of thing. So we're really involved in it. There's a bunch of us in it now. I was the original ambassador to start it off with. So, and there's been some guys that come on board. Danny Jackson, a bunch of us is a huge thing that we're trying to get this thing going and grow it to help families with that are going through this nasty time.
Tommy, thanks for your great work and that of the Darren Dalton Foundation. Thanks to you and Doug Clemens for providing a great show tonight, talking Phillies baseball, current and in the past. And thanks to Chris Ermer, our wonderful producer, who also contributed on the air. For Doug Clemens, Tommy Greene, I'm Dan Baker. We'll see you next week on the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session.
1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM W297CL Levittown.